The Iliopsoas complex is often demonized. Now, I find it gets a lot of flack for being the cause of all the problems, when in actual fact, I find it ends up running the show because of weakness elsewhere. It's a little bit like the overworked employee that starts to make mistakes because they're trying to do all the things their peers should be doing but aren't doing. The iliopsoas muscles are a group of three muscles: the psoas major, the psoas minor, and the iliacus. The psoas minor originates from the last few thoracic and first few lumbar vertebrae, and it inserts onto the horse's ilium. And its job is to stabilize the spine to counteract the apaxial muscles, as well as help to flex the spine. The psoas minor works in reciprocation with the psoas major, which originates from the diaphragm, the last two thoracic vertebrae, and the lumbar vertebrae, and it inserts onto the lesser trochanter of the femur. Now, the psoas major's primary role is hip flexion. And then finally, the iliacus, which originates from the underside of the iliac wing and inserts onto the lesser trochanter of the femur, and again has the primary role of hip flexion alongside the psoas major. I find that a lot of horses have a great deal of disbalance in their hind end musculature. Most commonly, they can present with gluteal atrophy, which means that there is nothing to counterbalance the flexor forces in the hip. So this means that we end up with a hip that orientates towards flexion because there isn't a muscle to help orientate it towards extension. So we lose equilibrium around the hip, and then this can alter the horse's static posture, and this means that they present with a posterior pelvic tilt, which you can see in the before picture in the middle there of the bay horse. As the horse starts to tilt their pelvis, this is often accompanied by their hind limb becoming increasingly more upright. And as that happens, their quadriceps muscles shorten and their stifle range of motion reduces. And this inhibits quadriceps development. A byproduct of this is that they can become restricted through their hind limb adductor muscles as well as the iliopsoas complex, and this encourages horses to walk towards the midline, externally rotating at their hip. And you can see this by looking at where their toes point. Often they point out when they're standing or walking. And I also find that these horses really struggle to bring their leg out behind them when picking feet out. And they may snap their leg up towards their belly when you ask for their leg. And that's not them being naughty. It's really uncomfortable for them to release their leg and bring their leg out behind them. And as you bring their leg out behind them, you might also notice that it tremors as you do so, or it can feel really light and a little bit like they might snap it back away from you. I'd like to just take a minute to look at the difference in the before and after photo, which was after approximately 1 hour of bodywork. Now, notice the relationship between the wither and the croup. Notice how in the before photo, the croup is higher than the wither, but in the after photo, the croup is lower than the wither. And also the relationship between the spine and the pelvis has changed. In the after photo, the horse's hind end looks more curvy. In the before photo, it looks kind of pointy, like a mountain. And then also notice how the belly line has changed. The horse doesn't look nearly as tucked up. And this was all done with 2 moves to help reduce the iliopsoas restriction. So I didn't touch the horse's front end here. I just worked on the horse's hind end. Now, I've got a couple of videos here where I am assessing hip range of motion. I will flex the leg and then I will make circles with it. So I will bring the leg towards the midline and then away from the midline. Notice in this first video that I'm going to play, the horse's stifle points out and I struggle to draw the leg away from the midline. So see how he's snapping his leg towards the midline. And then I can make a half circle towards the midline, but I can't draw the leg out away from the midline for the other side of the circle. Whereas in this video, this was after bodywork. See how I can bring the leg away from the midline and the stifle can roll towards the midline and away from the midline. So if I play that again, here is restriction. The horse snaps their leg towards the midline and I can't make that half of the circle away from the midline. And then in the second video, I can more clearly make a circle and you can see the stifle orientation change as I make those circles. Another thing that we can do to influence the Iliopsoas complex is standing horses on a hill. And here I've got a video of Kat standing on a hill. It's quite a steep hill. She chose to put herself there. I wouldn't necessarily make a horse with really restricted iliopsoas muscles stand on a hill that steep. But since she's there and she appreciates it, that's absolutely fine. Just take a look at the orientation of her lumbar region relative to her pelvis. So you can really see how the iliopsoas muscles have to lengthen to accommodate that. And then with her head lowered, it also creates a beautiful stretch over her superficial dorsal line too.